We continue to go through Hornets exit day interview audio. Mark Williams had some interesting things to say. Plus, Zion Williamson. Yeah, we're going back to that content again. There's something different. Joe Dumars hired in New Orleans with maybe the intent to trade Zion. Is there a mandate to trade him, and should Charlotte want in on the Zion sweepstakes? We'll get to all of it today. Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that does include YouTube. There's Doug Branson. You can find him on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. You can also listen to him on Locked On NBA every weekday. You can listen to Locked On NBA with Doug, Matt Moore, and Hayes. Cool stuff on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Walker Mehl. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m., 92.7 FM. We also have a newsletter for you, a Locked On Daily Hornets newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free right now, lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Hornets newsletter. Okay, we're going to set aside the audio. We're going to come back to it. We're still eating a lot off of that content. Mark Williams, interesting stuff. I think there was a theme that we heard from exit day interviews, but we're going to put that to the side. Let's go down to New Orleans, the very city that stole our team, our beloved team. Sorry, Pelicans. Ugh, still irks me. Zion Williamson has been a piece of content for us for quite some time. We keep going back to it. Should the Hornets go trade for him? Well, now that chance might be more real than ever. With the Pelicans having fired David Griffin after 6 years with the franchise, David Griffin having a nice history with the Cleveland Cavaliers franchise before eventually running things down in New Orleans, didn't go quite as well with the Pelicans, and it didn't go quite as well with what was a star, surefire hit number one overall pick in Zion, except some of those things weren't true. It wasn't surefire. It didn't necessarily work out. So now ownership reportedly wants out of the Zion business, and they've hired Louisiana native Joe Dumars to trade him. Get him out of here, the Benson family is telling you. And Joe Dumars, what he did in Detroit was impressive outside of drafting Darko Milicic, but he did build an 0-4 impressive championship team that didn't have one of the superstars on it, but it was just a really fun Detroit championship team. And so I think New Orleans maybe wants a little piece of that. We don't need the star, and we do want a championship team. So now it looks like they're going to be trading Zion Williamson. Should Charlotte want in, Doug?
Should they want in? If it's not a sweepstakes, I don't think they should get involved in any kind of sweepstakes for Zion Williamson because the injury list is too long. He did play in 70 games 2 seasons ago, but only played in 30 games this past season. Had a hamstring injury, and then that kept him out, I think, all of December, and then had another injury. He also got suspended for a game in the middle of this season by David Griffin for missing a team flight. And I think you put all of that together and you say that's a lot of risk to bring on, particularly if you're going to give up a lot of assets. That, if they are really interested in not skipping steps, as Jeff Peterson said yesterday, this would feel like not only skipping a step, but you would be skipping a step onto a step that wasn't totally secure, that your foot might very well fall through because the contract is hefty. And if you retain LaMelo Ball within the context of that trade, then your cap space is going to be severely restricted. So I would say, if it means acquiring someone that is a massive talent, particularly in the offensive end, the Hornets don't have a lot of players that command respect from the defense. We saw that when the Hornets were somewhat healthy this season, teams were more than willing to double Brandon Miller early, and then once Brandon Miller got injured, the double shifted over to LaMelo Ball. They knew they could do that. Defenses knew they could do that to Charlotte because there was no one that could really punish them. Well, Zion can punish that. Like if you double him, then LaMelo can punish it. And if you double LaMelo, then Zion can punish you. And so that is enticing. It's just, is it enticing enough to take on the risk plus give up a lot to New Orleans to do so?
So you look at Zion's contract. it's similar in pay per year to LaMelo's contract. He's going to make $39 million next year, 42.1 the year following. And then in his contract year, 2027-28, he's going to make $44.8 million. So he's only, quote unquote, on the books for 3 years compared to LaMelo, who's on your payroll for one more season than that. So you're right. It's a lot of money tied up into those two stars. You're talking about $80 million, a little more, actually, or getting close to 90 by the end of both of these deals, tied up in both of these guys who clearly have not shown an ability to stay on the floor with any consistency. Zion might be the only other player. There's a few players, there's a few stars that are unreliable right now in the league in terms of where will they be on the court. I think John Morant, we've seen him enter that mold this year. Zion has always been a part of that. And LaMelo, I think this year, has entered that mold, which is frustrating, but it is true. I mean, he just hasn't played very many games. Zion played 24 games his rookie year, 61 his second. Didn't play the entirety of his third season in the NBA. Played 29 games his fourth season. Played 70 his fifth season. Only played 30 this year. Could have played more, but they were tanking, and it's still not even like he could have played a lot more. 15 more games, and a lot of that his own doing, even without some of the injury stuff, Doug.
Hey, I've got a question for you. How many triple-doubles do you think Zion has accumulated so far in his career?
Oh, man. I don't know what the surprise factor is here with the question, because clearly it's a surprising answer, but I'm going to go with the low surprise factor. So I'll go 5. Before you asked me that question, I would have said 12.
Okay, I'm going to take 12 then, because it makes the reveal better, which is that he only has 2 triple-doubles in his career, and both of them occurred this season. He had his first triple-double of his career this season. When you think about all that he can do on the court, and the number of possessions has gone up, and so that's, generally I think why and assists have been scored differently and easier. I think it's generally regarded as why triple-doubles have increased over the past decade. And so with all that Zion can do, I'm very surprised that he only has 2 triple-doubles in his career and that both of them were this season. I don't know what it means. I'm just surprised by it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess if you start to think about it, Brandon Ingram liked to get to his spots in the mid-range and ISO you up, and so there's the basketball out of his hands. You get CJ McCollum. He's a guy that's known for his scoring, and so you take the basketball out of Zion's hand and put it in CJ McCollum's hands. So I think the assists probably are taken away from him a little bit. If he gets down into the post, then he's looking to score. So maybe those are some ways that make sense, but overall, you're right. This is a guy that you thought of having I don't know about complete offensive game because he can't shoot very well. And the shooting actually dipped a little bit this year. Again, only 30 games, but it's not like he's a great shooter, and it actually got worse this season. So not a great sign for Zion as he ages either.
And that's kind of a problem too, right? Because we saw early in the season, despite the Hornets not having a lot of shooting talent on the roster, they wanted to shoot a lot of threes. That was something that Charles Lee wanted Brandon Miller to do, but we also saw the team as a whole put up a ton of threes. Maybe some of that is LaMelo Ball, but I think some of that is Charles Lee coming over from Boston and trying to install some of that in the Hornets offense before they were ready. And then I think he backed off of that as the season went on and as the injuries piled up. But so Zion doesn't really necessarily help you with that. And in fact, it probably hurts you doubly because it locks up your books a little bit more. So if you wanted to go and acquire more shooting talent, it's just going to make that more difficult. The other thing that I would say is that, in the last episode, I was discouraged by what I heard from Jeff Peterson in the not wanting to skip steps, sustainability, knowing that Mitch Kupchak is not only is his ghost around these quotes, he's actually still in the building. We'll get to that a little later. We saw some title confirmations for Mitch Kupchak and Steve Clifford and a title change for Jeff Peterson.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
So he's still around, and that idea is still around, and that's frustrating to me. That's discouraging for me because I want to see the Hornets win sooner rather than later because I'm tired, boss. I'm tired. Mm-hmm. And but I will switch that and to a but. But
right.
The New Orleans Pelicans do offer a guide on what Jeff Peterson is saying here, because they did try to push the gas, accelerate. They went out and got McCollum to put next to Zion, who was injury prone like LaMelo, but a star in the making like LaMelo. And they went and got DeJounte Murray and kept Brandon Ingram and it has all blown up in their face. Why? Because of injuries. I mean, it's kind of scary. The connections between Charlotte and New Orleans, they're a little bit eerie.
I mean, they went out and got C.J. McCollum because they were so desperate for any kind of star veteran guard to put alongside Zion. And so they go after C.J. McCollum, and that doesn't ever really work out. I mean, man, it seems like a long time ago when C.J. was relevant in that sort of way of all-star contention. Hey, is there any way he could get to a third All-NBA spot? No, that's not the case. That's why I really try to stay grounded with the Jeff Peterson stuff. Because they're on a different timeline. And I can hate it as much as any Hornets fan out there, but they're on a different timeline. They picked a lane. We loved them picking a lane. We knew they were going to be bad. All of these trades, none of them made them better in the short term. They drafted Tijon Salon. They could have got better had they drafted any other player in that spot, but they drafted the project and knew it was going to be a long time. There are plenty of examples to your point, Doug. You can go to New Orleans, go to Phoenix. Phoenix is a great example of doing it the right way, getting to the finals, and then doing it the wrong way after they make the finals. And now they're as big a dumpster fire in the organization currently as there is. They're going to trade Durant. They're going to recoup some of those assets. But Devin Booker is telling you that he's frustrated with where the team is now, but he also tells you that he wants to be a Suns lifer, not putting enough pressure that he's going to leave. But just you've seen it from one organization in the span of 5-6 years on the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it. And I would like to do it the right way, but it still makes it really hard. It's not just as easy as, hey, do it the right way and everything will be gold, baby, because that's not the case.
I think it's easy to say do it the right way, but I will say, and this is where I'll end this conversation, I'm interested to see if Jeff Peterson is tempted in some way. If the Hornets, let's just say the Hornets fall as far as they can fall to the 7th pick in this draft, and New Orleans shimmies on in. Joe Dumars shimmies on in and says, hey, Jeff, give us that 7th pick, Miles Bridges, and some salary filler, and we'll call it a day. You can keep all of your other future assets, that juicy Miami pick that's if Miami falls out of the playoffs, that's going to turn into a unprotected first-round pick. You can keep all of that stuff. Just give us 7, and we'll call it a day. Then we'll see how staunch he is on his stance of not skipping steps.
Yeah, we can finish some of those thoughts. We'll also get to Mark Williams coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
Are the Charlotte Hornets and Mark Williams headed for a breakup? Perhaps that's what you took away from Mark Williams' comments during exit day interviews. We'll get to that and more coming up next. Locked On Hornets. This episode is brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about it. When was the last time you had a service emergency? If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. That's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications all through an app on your phone or computer. I wonder if NBA teams should start using Open Phone. If we have Joe Dumars call Jeff Peterson, but Jeff Peterson is out doing something. So I made this joke when I read this
on Locked On NBA. I made this joke that Joe Dumars is the ultimate two-phone guy. It's the meme.
Yeah, 100%. It's he should use Open Phone. If you're listening, Joe, I love that you don't need to actually carry those two phones. Joe Dumars, again, are you listening? With Open Phone, you can manage business calls, get text from one app, whether you're at your desk or on the go. Plus, a lot of people's favorite feature of this one is the shared inbox. Your team can jump into any conversation without missing a beat. Open Phone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OPENPHONE, openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you're switching from another service, Open Phone will even port your existing numbers over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. This episode is also brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with the EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Oh, they got 6 of them now? Goodness gracious. And Avowed. As easily as you stream, there's so many. As easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Plus, they have the latest technology for elevated playing with Wi-Fi 6/6E, I think that's how you read it, and auto low latency mode. Advanced technology. Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to stay competitive. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube third generation. The last console I had was a PlayStation 3 when I was a sophomore in high school. You could tell it there. More Locked On Hornets ahead.
Okay, Boomer.
What happened to Super Mario and games like that? You too good for Yoshi? What did Yoshi do to anybody? Now we got to shoot everybody in Black Ops 18?
It's so funny because you're younger than me. I won't say how much younger you are than me, but in a few ways, you are strangely older than me.
Yeah, there are a few. Technology is the biggest one, honestly.
I think
technology
so, yes.
is by far the biggest one. I did love playing video games, but after PlayStation 3, I got it when it first came out. And then all my friends got the PlayStation 4 and eventually the PS5. I'm like, man, I'm just going to hang out and play off of their consoles. And then I don't need to play story mode or anything on mine, so I'm good. Gilbert Arenas NBA Live 2008 was the last game I purchased. Yeah, that's
he's big in the news right now.
Gilbert Arenas is
documentary
big in the
on
news.
his incidents in Washington. Which, by the way, why are we doing a I feel like some documentaries come out, and I'm like, I feel like I have a full grasp of what happened there. I don't need like an hour and a half, 2 hour documentary on certain things.
Well, the problem is I'm going to watch it. I'm interested in that. But the 30 for 30, when it came out, Bill Simmons had this excellent idea of doing these documentaries on fun, bigger, but not the biggest sports topics, like Reggie Miller versus the Knicks. Awesome stuff. Michael Jordan rides the bus, playing baseball. Yes, I would like a full-on documentary about the time where he weirdly retired and then played baseball. But what I didn't see coming was the streaming age and where everybody's just able to make content. And so now everything has a documentary on it, and it's really hard to keep up with. But at the time, oh, yeah, it was amazing. I sound 80 years old again.
Wow.
Final thoughts on Zion. I've said it before. I still feel this way, Doug. Trading for Zion doesn't feel like the move. And I know that we're worried about, trying to go for sustainability and you just never even get to the playoffs one time. They're so worried about getting there once and never going back in the next 3 years that you might not ever go. You might not get to the playoffs that one time. I get it. It's a valid concern. Going for Zion doesn't seem like the move because if you trade LaMelo for him and you just do a star swap, well, then you're right back where you started. If you're trying to team LaMelo up with Zion, now you have to salary match with Miles, who is a guy that team absolutely loves, and you could hear it all throughout Exit Day interviews yesterday. Zion doesn't shoot. He has a spot here in the offense, but now you have two stars that are always injured and aren't dependable to be out there on the court. Usually you go for 2 or 3 stars for star insurance. And this is a team with those two guys. You need a third one. and now your money is really tied up because now you got what? Now you got to go after a third $40 million a year man. Defensively, does he fit the Hornets DNA? He played a lot better this year. Feels like he got his life back on track to some degree. But does he fit Hornets DNA? This one doesn't seem like the move, Doug.
He's still getting suspended for missing team flights and being late and Joel Embiid stuff. He's not a culture setter. You need a culture setter on this team. The culture is they're trying to set it. Hornets DNA is all about trying to set a new culture. So yeah, this is not the right move. I would not ding Jeff Peterson for not going after this move. It's just like open yourself up to the possibility of another move. That's all I'm asking.
So one way that he would fit is playing with physicality. We know Zion does not shy away from contact. Doug, I thought that was a theme from exit day interviews yesterday, and even specifically if you want to boil this thing down to what Charles Lee had to say, Charles Lee wants to build a tough basketball team. And it's obvious that we've talked about Hornets DNA and going after all these role players. I think every role player they got is fine with contact, right? Like, I think every single one that they've welcomed into their organization, whether it be the 2 rookies, even I don't want to make you cringe by saying Josh Green's name, but defensively, he doesn't mind getting hit in the mouth. Musa Diabate doesn't mind getting hit. Josh Okogie doesn't mind getting hit. So you could see it. They're telling you this with their actions, but Doug, then they go up to the podium and tell you, yeah, LaMelo needs to be more physical because guards at the top of the key would be more physical with him, and it would frustrate him, and it would take him out of games sometimes. And Mark Williams, 2 guys that we knew those were issues with, but that seemed to be a theme yesterday, Doug.
One quick thing on Josh Green before I forget. I saw that. So, the NBA has this player participation thing for the NBA end of season awards. You have to play, I think it's 65 games, but you also have to play 20 plus minutes in a certain number of games. It's complicated. But just know this, the only player that was eligible to win an end of season award for the Charlotte Hornets, the only one was Josh Green.
Oh my God. That is amazing. I'm afraid I was going to ask you and play a fun game. What award would Josh Green win? But I don't want to ask you that question. That's just going to make you mad.
I'm not prepared. And when I'm not prepared, I get hurtful. I get mean when I'm not prepared. It's not funny. It goes to mean.
And that's why I pivoted. That's why I asked the question without really asking the question, so we can move on. Physicality, a theme. Charles Lee wants to build a tough team. Jeff Peterson does too. And 2 of what is theorized to be part of the core 4, 2 of those guys clearly don't play with the ton. Like, even with LaMelo, who gets fouled all the time and in the worst possible way, I would even say LaMelo absorbs contact better than Mark. But here are 2 guys that are a part of your team that you were hoping at once upon a time to be a part of your future. And Charles Lee has a similar criticism for both of those players, Doug.
Yeah, I think it's a huge need. I think they've got to look at free agency, trading, and the draft and ask themselves, are we bringing somebody in that is going to play the physical style of basketball? And maybe they can't shoot. I think there's some things you have to figure out later, particularly if you are on a longer timeline. And I think culture setting and physicality are like the things that you look at in the next season if you're not planning on winning. Then you say, all right, even if this guy can't shoot for now, we'll try to figure that out, and if we can't, we'll move him. But he's got to be able to play a physical style of basketball. I'm just not sure that Mark can. I thought there were some interesting quotes in this one. I don't think that Mark Williams and the organization are really aligned on what will make Mark Williams successful. Mark Williams talked a lot about his statistics, his rim field goal percentage, deterrence numbers, his points, rebounds numbers, and he had some gaudy, like basic box score lines this season. There's no doubt about it. But when you drill down and you look at the matchups and then you watch the film, which I think is what Charles Lee would rather Mark Williams focus on, and see, like, where did you get moved out of the way? Where were you not physical enough? Where were you not trying to get off the floor and get a rebound enough that could have saved a possession or kept the other team from hitting a 3-second chance? That, I think, is what they want him to focus on. And I thought there was an interesting quote from Charles on Mark where he essentially said he got a lot of double-doubles and box score stats that were easy for him.
Yeah.
And you could take that one of 2 ways. You could take that like as a compliment, but I don't necessarily take it as a compliment. I take it as, because it was followed immediately by, there are some other things that he needs to continue to work on. Because I think he can go out there with how long his arms are and how tall he is. I think, and what he can do on the offensive boards, he can go out and accumulate easy points and easy rebounds. But that's not what the Hornets need from him. That's not why he was being constantly coached by Miles Bridges and Grant Williams to play harder. That's not why LaMelo said, we go as Mark goes, because sometimes Mark didn't go, and that's what they need from him.
Yeah, the easy rebounds that he gets, the Hornets do need that. They just need more, right? Like you would say, yeah. Can we get more? And I think that's where you have some of the issues. Even me, who believes there's something in there somewhere, in whether his hope if his body allows him, which is a big question. Charles Lee mentioned it. Mark Williams mentioned it too, about having a healthy offseason. That's a big deal. Steve Clifford used to preach this about every player. A full, healthy offseason. It's critical for all of these guys. It is critical for Mark Williams to have a full, healthy offseason, and a lot of that being in the weight room. And so you mentioned Grant Williams. We sat down with him on Wes and Walker. I thought he had some interesting comments because Grant is an interesting guy. One, he talked about the importance of lifting weights, which Charles Lee mentioned a couple different times, with both of these players needing to get into the weight room. And Grant Williams discussed how some guys in the NBA, he didn't say on the team, he said there are some guys in the NBA that just don't lift, and some guys that don't think it's all that important. Me, Grant Williams speaking, saying, I think it's imperative. I think it's really important to make sure your body's right. I think it's good for conditioning to play the course of an 82-game season. And that's something also Charles Lee talked about, the specific word of conditioning. Like, I think Grant is a real mouthpiece for Charles Lee. I think that's why he's really valuable to this team. It's why his injury hurt so bad. But the last thing Grant said about Mark Williams was, and he was a little shy about revealing this too, but Grant said 2 weeks ago against Memphis, he cussed Mark out because there was a play where he got hit by two bigs, Zach Edey or somebody, and he got cussed out and said, you're just going to let him hit you like that and not respond. And I think the Grizzlies got the rebound. And I don't know if Mark responded after that. I think it's just coaching, right? But it's happened a decent amount. I do think Mark got better in the last however many weeks, where it wasn't perfect, but he did get better. But it's still a problem. Mark Williams just isn't a physical basketball player at this point.
I'll tell you what I think is critical for Mark Williams, and it's to find a new basketball team. And I can tell you why. I mean, we got to go to a break, but I can tell you why afterwards.
Okay. Well, Doug will tell us why. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
He's everywhere!
We have another mock draft, and we are mocking Mark, possibly. I tried to make that work, but Doug might be doing that. Coming up next, just telling him he needs to find a new basketball team. Final segment, LOH. This episode is brought to you by Skims. Did you know that Skims now makes underwear for men, bringing the same attention to quality and comfort they're known for? Well, now you do. The men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. Finding underwear that fits well, stays in one place, and moves with you throughout the day can be a challenge. Skims solves that with lightweight, high-quality materials that provide all-day comfort, whether working out, traveling, or just going about daily life. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com and Skims stores, and let them know we sent you. After placing an order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu again. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com, SKIMS, skims.com, and Skims stores. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Doug, tell the people why it's critical that Mark Williams find a new basketball team.
Because I don't think he and the organization are aligned on what's going to make him successful, and I think the emotional wounds of him being traded to Los Angeles have not healed. I mean, that was my big takeaway from not only just the quotes from Mark Williams, but just his general demeanor. I'll read you the quote, though. On whether he wants and expects to return to the team next season, he said, I think so. I mean, maybe. I think with the whole situation, it's given me a new perspective. But obviously, there's a chance of that, a good chance of that. But like I said, I didn't think I was being traded the first time. So, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Unquote.
Yeah. You think that means he's completely done with the team?
Well, it's not his choice. I mean, he's under contract.
But you get what I'm saying, though. Like he's
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would be interested. I mean, were you in the room for this one?
I was not in the room for this one. I was not. I mean, clearly I saw the clip, but I was not. I was already doing the show at this point.
So again, I'm just saying, like, body language, the way he was talking, it just and that's all fair to Mark. Like, he got traded. Yeah. He is. Yeah. But we talk about revenge games because guys go back to their old teams and they feel bad about being traded and being given up on. Well, he had to go back to the team that traded him. Like, he's totally fair in feeling this way. I just think he needs a new start. Maybe he needs a new role. You know, maybe he goes to a team that's competing, whether it's Los Angeles that was playing like small ball that would have, I think, played more to his strengths. And that they had physicality. Like LeBron James is like were 3 players of physicality. The Hornets don't have that. So they're asking Mark to do something that I think might be currently outside his skill set. I think he would benefit from a new start.
No, yeah, and I'm with you. I think clearly Mark doesn't feel great about it. Jeff Peterson at the beginning of the exit day interview process told you that Mark handled it as well as anybody, that there are plenty of players that wouldn't have handled it as well as Mark, which is probably true. Like, Mark deserved the Rick Bonnell Award, which was voted on by the media because he's a really nice guy. Everybody likes talking to him. I guess you could say that's the issue with him being too nice on the court. But his demeanor off of the court really is awesome. Like, he's introspective. He tells you what he's feeling. Mark even talked about winning the Rick Bonnell Award and saying that I do try to give a thoughtful answer to any question that I receive. And I respect that, man. I do like him. Our show developed a little bit of a rapport. It's not like we're hanging out, but he knows us, and we enjoy having him on every once in a while. And I think it's interesting to hear him really try to give you a thoughtful answer. So when asked about, do you think you're going to get traded this offseason, I think he's trying to be as honest as possible, right? So if he could, I guess, say, I think so. Something happened, and it's the business of the NBA, which he said before, right? He said this earlier. But I think he was trying to give you some kind of honest answer. And he's, I didn't think I was going to get traded the first time. I don't think I'm going to get traded now. But as everybody can see, I don't call the shots. So maybe I do get traded this offseason.
All right, so let me follow that up with this quote. And they asked Mark about sitting back-to-backs, whether he was healthy. And he said this. Yeah, obviously, I think health-wise, I feel like I was able to. I think that was just the stance that was taken, and I just maintained being a professional about it. Every time I was on the floor trying to show the best version of myself physically, I was able to do that. I was able to play. Every game I was out there, I was playing extended minutes. So I don't think it was anything along the lines of I'm not healthy or not able to play. You pair that with his comments before the season being concerned or agitated by the idea that he was not a healthy player. He did not want that label on him. So he gets traded, and then that label gets put on him by the Lakers, and then he comes back to the Hornets, was a professional about it, wanted to play back-to-backs, wanted to prove to himself and the league and the team that he was fully 100% healthy, and the team said, it's actually in our long-term best interest for you not to play back-to-backs, because if you do get injured again, if that left foot causes problems again, then you will absolutely become untradeable. There will be even if we wanted to pursue a future with you, it would be more difficult if that were the case. And so again, that's where I talk about misalignment. And I agree with you. He's being professional. He's being honest, but I think he's still hurt. I think he's fair to be hurt. And I think both the Hornets and Mark Williams would benefit from a fresh start.
Don't disagree that there still has to be feelings there. 100%. Yeah, that for sure. Agree with that. Final thing for me on Mark. I think Charles Lee kind of helped me out with the role that they envisioned Mark playing. But if he moves on and then he does go to this small ball team and it takes him a while to get back to what he was when he was a rookie and giving us these flashes of a big that can move with some rare lateral foot speed at that kind of size and length on the 3-point line, then great. But it's going to take him a while, then not so great if it takes him a while to get there. But the role being messed with Steve Clifford, with Charles Lee, like they want to put a lot of weight on him, and now they want him to be a drop coverage defender where like that wasn't the strongest part of his game, and what he was doing was actually freaking valuable, man. There just weren't many dudes that could do what Mark was doing out on the perimeter and doing the whole Trae Young thing. We can think about it. I do think Charles Lee, if he wants that type of center, right? If he wants that type of center to just be a force down low and be this drop coverage, absorb contact type of guy, then they probably are better off moving on and having, unless they feel like Mark can get there. And I don't know. We'll see. Okay, mock draft time. You ready to roll with the 18th mock draft in our 61-day journey to the end of the draft process altogether?
Yeah, I do have a mock draft for you. Real quick, though, something I teased earlier. There were some title changes and confirmations. Yep. Jeff Peterson is no longer the executive vice president of basketball operations. He has now been, I guess this is an upgrade, right? You are now the president of basketball operations, not executive vice president. Though the executive thing is confusing to me. I don't know which is, it seems like president would be better. Okay, so he's president of basketball ops. We got confirmations on Steve Clifford this is on their website. He's the basketball operations senior advisor, and Mitch Kupchak is the advisor to the co-chairman and president of basketball ops, meaning advisors to Schlotkin and to Jeff Peterson. And then Trent Salo, who was like leading the medical team and had to leave for personal reasons, he's also listed as a senior advisor. So you never leave this team. It's Hotel California. It's Hotel Charlotte. You can never leave. Steve Clifford, Mitch Kupchak now getting official titles.
Do you think anytime Steve Clifford tries to get out of his dark room watching film, he just hears Don Henley's voice that you can never check out? Like you can never leave. I wonder if Don Henley just is always in the background.
No, I think they've severanced him. I think he tries to exit the dungeon that he's watching European film in, and he like immediately comes back in the door.
Yeah.
I think they've severanced him. Yeah, he's trapped forever.
You think he's trying to go coach the team afterwards? Like, all right, we got a game tonight. Are we playing? It's Groundhog Day. He's been thinking he's playing the Raptors tonight for a year and a half now. But real quickly on the title change stuff. So I actually inquired about why Jeff Peterson was executive vice president when he was named the head shot caller for this team. So I asked about it, and I was told, look, I think it's just a title. We'll see whatever. I was like, okay. Didn't get any clarity on it. So I don't know why I didn't get any, but I didn't get any clarity on it. And now after, I guess, a full year's worth of time, he's been upgraded to president of basketball operations. Does that mean that they were somewhat weaning him in, where they were just kind of dipping his toes into the water, where, hey, Gabe Plotkin, Rick Schnall actually making some of these calls? They go after Josh Green. Remember, Josh Green was somebody that they tried to trade for the first time at the deadline when Jeff Peterson wasn't a part of the organization, right? So I wonder if there was just some kind of Schlotkin still being the president of it all, and now Jeff Peterson gets that official title. I just don't know why, right? Why the 1 year of VP before after a year now you go to just straight up president?
It's been a long time since I've been in the corporate world, but I remember when stuff like that would come up and I wouldn't know why things would happen. They would seemingly be inexplicable. I would just assume there was some like Richie Rich reason, taxes, money, something that was way above my pay grade that actually made it make sense, and nobody wanted to talk about it. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I don't know why. I'm just going to assume it was something that is a boardroom thing. All right.
Real possible.
Mock draft time. Here we go. The Hornets are taking with the third overall selection, according to Jonathan Wasserman of Bleacher Report in his latest mock draft. Man, he's really helping me out this year. I don't know if he updated as much last season, but in my mock draft today challenge, he is really helping me by updating these nearly every week. He has them still taking VJ Edgecombe, which would go right along into our conversation about needing to prioritize physicality, because VJ Edgecombe definitely does that, particularly, I think, over Ace Bailey, which would be another option there. And I think Trey Johnson is physical offensively, but I think defensively still has a long way to go. This is a 2-round mock. He still has the Hornets taking Bennett Sturtz, the point guard out of Drake, with the 33rd pick. And then the 34th pick, boy, I'm not deep enough into my draft knowledge to really attempt this name. So I'm just going to go with the first half of this first name and say Bogo Markovic out of Mega. And he is, pro comparison, is Alexei Pokusevski. So
done it before.
the Hornets know a little bit about Pokusevski. But yeah, he's 6'11", 195, 19 years old. So this would be definitely either a stash pick or a long-term play for them. He can shoot threes. He was nearly 44% overseas from threes on decent volume. So there you go. There's Bogo Markovic.
I can't wait for they can't wait is strong, but I am ready to see the second round mocks that are going to be released as we get closer and closer. There's just not as many. A little too far out from the draft right now to get the 2-round mock drafts in the NBA. But as they start to hit, I think, man, those 2 picks at the beginning of the second round, does Jeff Peterson have the second round magic that Mitch Kupchak had, where even if they didn't hit all the way, they hit enough to actually get some real value, right? Like you always profited, pretty much always profited on those second round picks. So one, can Jeff Peterson do that? But also, There's some interesting guys that are going at the beginning of the second round, like some interesting bigs. We've gone with Kalkbrenner. We've gone with Maxime Reynaud from Stanford. Both guys can shoot. Both guys got a little bit of playmaking to them. So some fun offensive centers that can maybe stretch the floor. There's been some, I mean, I don't know, man. Let's get Cooper. Let's get that in the bag. Let's get somebody in the first round that's a star. But that second round stuff, you get 2 bites at the apple. If you want to trade up and move up, that's cool too. But like there's some real room for improvement there, wherever it may be, late first round or early second.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the names that are mocked there, but my dream scenario is to package 33 and 34 to move up to like 20 and take your pick of Max Reynaud or Danny Wolf. Just get an offensive center, somebody that can shoot and gives you a little bit more there. I would love that.
Yeah, it'd be cool. All right. That'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that does include YouTube. Check out Doug on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Also, listen to Locked On NBA. Hayes and Matt Moore doing it big over there at Locked On NBA. I'm Walker Mehl. Listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Sports Radio 92.7 FM. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.